Hello everyone, my name is Trilochan. As a part of our NCERT series, we are discussing 6th class history, our past one. In this video, I am going to take up our next chapter, Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. Before taking up this topic, I just wanted to make one announcement. I am going to start my own platform. That platform includes two modules. One for Telugu medium, another for English medium. These modules deal with history, geography and current affairs in general, international relations in particular. I just wanted to make one more announcement. I am writing 3 books, Indian history, India and world geography and Andhra Pradesh history. I am going to publish Andhra Pradesh history book very soon. Coming to our chapter, Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. This chapter revolves around 2 things. One is about territories, that means kingdoms and a republic, and kings, the leader of that particular territory, that means a Raja of that territory. If you look at the modern times, we are choosing our leaders by voting. We are following this process of choosing our leader from 1950. When we go back to Rigvedic period. Rigvedic period means 3500 years ago from the present. That means 1500 BC. Why do we call it as a Rigvedic period? During this period, Rigveda was composed. And during this time, ruler was chosen by Jana. What is Jana? Jana is nothing but the people, community as a whole. That means a small group of people. And all belongs to one particular clan. And how did they choose their leader? One of our previous videos, I was talking about the battles which were fought during the period of Rigveda. Battles were fought to capture cattle, to capture people, and to occupy the land. And also sometimes they fought battles for water as well. Most of the men generally participate in these battles. So before facing the enemy, all men usually met in assemblies. They discuss and debate about the plan of action. They even elect their leader who could lead from the front in the battlefield. Few centuries, that means around 3000 years ago from the present, that means 1000 BC. We call this period as later Vedic period. Why do we call this as a later Vedic period? Because we are having 4 Vedas. The oldest Veda was Rig Veda, which was composed during 1500 BC. Remaining 3 Vedas, those Vedas were composed during later Vedic period, that is around 1000 BC. What were those? Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda. And apart from these Vedas, they even composed several other books. During this period, there were tremendous changes were taking place in the ways in which Raja was chosen. Raja means here leader of a particular clan. Men usually recognized as Raja by performing various sacrifices. By performing sacrifices, they started extending their influence over vast territories. Now we are going to see what was the process. So I was talking about various sacrifices. Among those sacrifices, Ashwamedha or horse sacrifice. When I am using Raja, that means I am talking about the leader of a particular Jana. That means a leader of a particular group who belongs to the same clan. A Raja of the particular Jana who wanted to perform this sacrifice, he let loose a horse to wander freely. This horse would be guarded by the men of this Raja. Means when that horse was wandered into the kingdom of a neighboring Raja, generally that neighboring Raja had 2 choices. First one was, if he stopped that horse, he had no other option. He had to fight. One is stopping that horse and he had to fight. Another one, if he allows that horse to pass, then neighboring Raja recognized this Raja who wanted to perform the sacrifice as stronger than him. These neighboring Rajas would be invited to the sacrifice. Neighboring Rajas usually brought gifts. These sacrifices were performed by well-trained priest. He is nothing but Brahmana. Priests were rewarded with gifts. The Raja who was organizing this sacrifice would be a central figure in this entire ritual. That means he would be seated on a big throne or tiger skin. The charioteer who accompanies this Raja even to the battlefields. Generally, he was the witness of all his exploits and he chants tales of his glory. If you look at the entire sacrifice, it was not only Raja. Along with him, his relatives also participate in this sacrifice. Especially his wives and sons usually perform various minor rituals. And priests or Brahmins, they even sprinkle sacred water on the Raja. Neighboring Rajas, they simply sit and watch the entire performance of the ritual. The ordinary people and even Vish or Vaishya, they even attend the ritual and they even brought gifts. And some people were classified as Shudras by Brahmanas. Shudras were not allowed to participate in various rituals. So all these things are part of Ashwamedha or horse sacrifice. The leader of a particular clan or a jana is now recognized after completing this sacrifice ritual. He would be recognized as Raja of a particular Janapada. He was no more a Raja of Jana. What is Janapada? Janapada is nothing but a land where Jana means the people put their foot and settles down. That means here Janapada means it's a vast territory where various clans come together and live under one particular ruler. If the neighboring Rajas accepted the suzerainty of the leader who performed this Ashwamedha sacrifice, that means his influence would be extended to the neighboring territory as well. That means he would be called as Raja of Janapada. Archaeologists excavated several settlements in various Janapadas, like for example Atiranjikera, Hastinapur and Puranakila. People lived in huts. It indicates the rural setup, rural life. It is not an urban life. These people even kept cattle and other animals in those places. That means domestication of animals were prevailed during that time. They even growing crops, various crops like rice, barley, wheat, sugarcane, pulses, maize, sesame, mustard. They even used earthen pots. These earthen pots were grey in color and some are in red in color. Archaeologists found painted greyware, PGW. What it indicates? This was a special type of vessels, made out of painted greyware. Plates, bowls are fine in touch and with smooth surface. They might be using these vessels on special occasions. These vessels had painted designs. So what are those designs? Simple lines or geometrical patterns. These Janapadas slowly occupied neighboring Janapadas. That means territory of Jana became Janapada and these Janapadas now became Mahajanapadas. What is the reason behind these kind of battles and occupying neighboring Janapadas? So Mahajanapadas were existing during the period of Buddha and Mahavira. That means around the 6th century BC. Buddhist texts as well as Jaina texts mentioned 16 Mahajanapadas. We also call it as like Shodasa Mahajanapadas. Anguttara Nikaya, which was a part of Sutta Nipitaka, gave the list of 16 Mahajanapadas. We'll see one by one. Look at this map. Here, most of the Mahajanapadas were concentrated in and around Ganga Yamuna basin, and some were in the northwestern part of India, and here in the central part of India and near Godavari region. Now look at this Anga. Anga has a capital called Champa. Magadha, it had its capital Rajagriha or Girivrajam. Later the capital was shifted to Pataliputra. And here look at Vajji. Vajji was another Mahajanapada. So actually it was a republic. Okay, so we are going to discuss about what is a republic also. Okay, its capital Vaishali. One more Mahajanapada that was also a republic, Malla. Malla's capital is Kushinagar. Another important city was Pavapuri. In the vicinity of Kusinagara, Buddha died. That means Buddha's last rites were performed by Mallas. And now look at this place, Kasi. Kasi was another important Mahajanapada. Its capital Varanasi. And at the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna, there was another Mahajanapada, Vatsa. Its capital Kaushambi. And there was another important Mahajanapada, Chedi. Its capital Suktimati. Matsya. Its capital Viratnagar. And another important Mahajanapada, Surasena, and its capital Madhura. And here Kuru was another important Mahajanapada. Its capital Hastinapur. Other important city was Indraprastha. One more Mahajanapada, that is Panchala. Panchala was also a republic, and its most important capital in the northern part was Ahishchatra, and the southern capital of Panchala was Kampilya. Another one, Kosala. Kosala's capital was Shravasti, and other important cities were Ayodhya and Saketa. All these Mahajanapadas were concentrated in and around Ganga and Yamuna basin. Avanti. Avanti is located in the central India, and its capital Ujjain. Another important city of Avanti was Mahishmati. Okay, and near Godavari basin, one more Mahajanapada was there. So that was Asmaka. Its capital was Pratisthanapura, modern Python. And look at this region. Gandhara was located in the northwestern part of the subcontinent. So its capital was Takshila. And in and around Kashmir region, Kamboja was another important Mahajanapada. So these are all 16 Mahajanapadas. That means Shodasa Mahajanapadas listed in the Anguttara Nikaya of Sutta Pitaka. What was the reason behind these battles? And small Janapadas are now occupying neighboring Janapadas and becoming Mahajanapadas. Agriculture. So during this period, there were two important changes in the agriculture. So the first and foremost one was growing use of iron plowshare. Iron plowshare generally go deep inside the soil. The clayey soil could be turned over better by using iron plowshare. The people increased the production of the crop. And the second one was transplantation. Instead of scattering seeds, they started growing saplings. These saplings were planted in the field in an orderly manner. That means the survival rate of plant would be increased because of this process, and obviously that lead to the increase in production. This surplus production helped some sections of the people to opt non-agricultural activities. So what are those activities? Generally, some people were devoted to crafts. That means weavers, smiths came into being, and traders. And these were all sections of people, after later Vedic period, you come across in the society. And hunter-gatherers, herders, fisher folk, maximum people were involved in farming. Rajas realized the importance of the land, especially fertile land. They started attacking the neighboring Janapadas and occupying the land, and so that they could get the fertile land. Society was divided based on Varna. This Varna system was very well entrenched by the time of 6th century BC. Along with that, so society was divided into 4 varnas. Priests are Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Okay, that means warriors. And Vaishyas, Shudras. These varnas had different functions. In the society, Brahmans or priests occupied the topmost position. They were expected to study and teach Vedas, and also they were expected to perform rituals. They were even rewarded with gifts. And now come to the warriors or Kshatriyas. They were occupying the second position in the society, and they were expected to fight battles and also protect the people. And Vaishyas, you could find herders and traders and farmers. So Vaishyas and Kshatriyas, they were allowed to perform some rituals. And what about Shudras? Shudras were expected to serve the above 3 varnas, and they were not allowed to participate in rituals. And generally during that time, women were placed along with the Shudras. They were not eligible to read or study Vedas. Brahmanas classified some people as untouchables, those generally involved in the activities of cremation and burials. So this was the society during that period. Here agriculture made the Rajas to attack and occupy neighboring Janapadas, and now because of these attacks and battles and to protect their agricultural lands, Mahajanapadas started fortifying their capitals. Capital means what it indicates. I was talking about the rural setup during Janapadas, that means later Vedic period. Now I am talking about the capitals of Mahajanapadas. What it indicates? It indicates that urban life. This was the second urbanization. What was the first urbanization in the Indian subcontinent? Indus Valley civilization, that is Harappan civilization, was the first urbanization. This was the second urbanizations. So most of the Mahajanapadas had capitals and also important cities as well. So these Mahajanapadas, now they frequently involved in battles. They started fortifying their capitals with impressive walls. These walls were built by using stones or bricks. They even built palaces. Apart from these, they started maintaining a huge standing army, that means regular army, throughout the year. During Rigvedic period, there was no capital to a particular area or particular jana. There was no standing army. Most of the men usually participate in these battles. This regular army was paid salaries. They were paid in the form of punch-marked coins. Agriculture, surplus agriculture production helped people to focus on non-agricultural activities. That's why the money economy started coming to maintain, to administer this kind of huge setup, huge structure. So they need regular income. During Janapada period, the kings, the Rajas usually receive voluntary gifts from the people, but now they appointed officers to collect regular taxes. I was talking about various sections of the people in the society who were involved in various kinds of professions. Most of the people were involved in farming activity. And if you look at this one, bricks, and they were constructing the huge walls. They built forts because of 3 reasons. They were afraid of attacks from the enemies, so they wanted to protect themselves from those attacks. That was the first reason. Second reason was Rajas or kings wanted to show their power and show that they were very rich, and they even constructed impressive walls to show it. Third one was they could easily control the land and the people within the fortification. For all these things, they need a proper planning as well. Taxes were collected from all sections of the people. Earlier, it was like a voluntary gifts by the people to the Raja. But now, it was compulsory tax, and they started imposing tax on each and every section of the people and each and every profession. They appointed even officers to collect these taxes. Tax was imposed on farming. 1/6 of the tax was fixed on agriculture produce, and this was known as Bagha or share. Craft persons were expected to pay taxes that could be in the form of labor. They functioned for a day in a month for the king. Herders would be expected to pay tax in the form of animal or animal produce. And hunter-gatherers would be expected to pay in the form of forest produce. Traders. And traders, whenever they bought and sold goods, they had to pay tax. So traders. All these taxes were regularly collected by especially employed officers, and they used taxes for fortification as well as for maintaining a regular standing army. This was the most important characteristic feature of Mahajanapadas. I gave you the list of 16 Mahajanapadas. Among those, I wanted to take Magadha Mahajanapada. Why it was so powerful? Because it was blessed with so many resources. Rivers were flowing through it. Among those, Ganga and Son rivers. And these rivers provide transport facilities, provide water, and also make the land fertile. Some parts of the Magadha were forested. Forest means it provides animals as well as wood. Among animals, elephant. So elephants were captured and trained for the army. Wood was used in building houses, palaces, chariots, carts, etc. In the vicinity of Magadha, iron ore mines were also present. These iron ore mines could be tapped to make tools and weapons. Apart from these resources, kings of Magadha were capable. They were competent. Two important kings were Bimbisara and Ajatasattu. They belonged to Haryanka dynasty. They used all possible means to occupy various Janapadas, that means neighboring Janapadas. Magadha was blessed with another important ruler who was the founder of Nanda dynasty, Mahapadmananda. Mahapadmananda increased his control up to northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent. Along with these rulers, Magadha's capitals were very well protected by nature. That means I was talking about Rajagriha or Girivraja. Rajagriha or Girivraja was surrounded by 5 hills. That means its capital was naturally protected. And later this capital was shifted to Pataliputra. So this was surrounded by water. That means various rivers were confluencing at near Pataliputra. So this was the strongest point of Magadha. During this time, in the 4th century BC, there was a ruler called Alexander from Macedonia. He had a dream to conquer the world, but he did not conquer the world. But he did conquer parts of Egypt and West Asia. He entered into the Indian subcontinent and reached to the banks of the river Bias. After that, when he wanted to march towards east, his soldiers refused to move. What was the reason behind it? His soldiers were scared of Indian ruler who had vast armies of foot soldiers along with the elephants and chariots. So this was the position of Magadha during that period. It was the strongest Mahajanapada. Another Mahajanapada, that is Vajji. Vajji had its capital Vaishali. It had a different form of government. that is Gana Sangha. Actually, I am using the word Gana Sangha, but actually in this chapter they mentioned Gana or Sangha, but actually it's a single word that means republic or oligarchy. Gana means it's a group that has many members. All these Ganas, these clans come together and form into an association or organization. So these several clans come together and formed into an organization called Mahajanapada, that is Vajji. Vajji was a Mahajanapada, and where several clans come together and exist, live together. And what it indicates? This indicates that there was no single ruler to this Mahajanapada. There were more than one. Sometimes it may be thousands of rulers may rule this Mahajanapada. So most important clan in this Mahajanapada was Licchavi. So all these rulers were known as Rajas. All these Rajas together participate in rituals. They held frequent assemblies to discuss, debate and to decide about the impending issues in the assembly. Buddha, Mahavira, they both belong to Gana Sangha, okay? And several Buddhist texts give the life of the society in these Gana Sanghas. These Gana Sanghas continue to exist for several centuries. And the last Gana Sangha was occupied by Gupta rulers. That means 4th century AD. What was the reason that these Gana Sanghas continued to exist for several centuries? There was a beautiful conversation between the Buddha and Vasakara, the minister of Ajatasattu. We'll see what was that conversation. So generally, there were so many Buddhist texts which contained the speeches of Buddha. For example, Dighanikaya, Ajatasattu, when he wanted to attack the Vajjis, and he sent his minister Vasakara to get the advice about the attack. When Vasakara met the Buddha asked whether Vajjis held frequent assemblies. When he replied yes, immediately Buddha told Vajjis would prosper as long as they held frequent assemblies. As long as they act together, Vajjis would continue to prosper as long as they follow established rules, and also as long as they respect, support and listen to elders. As long as they maintain chaityas in villages and towns. As long as they respect wise saints who follow different beliefs, okay, and as long as they respect these wise saints when they enter and leave the country freely. And along with that, he warned them that Vajji woman not held by force. So these are the main reason behind the continued existence of these Mahajanapadas, especially the republic, that is Gana Sangha, for several centuries. This was all about the chapter Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. In the next video, we'll come up with another important topic. Thank you so much.